And I think this is the lesson to take as a cinematographer about how this can help tell story and how you accomplish making it look and feel like our character is exposed, even when there is not a light there. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood and I'm a Los Angeles-based cinematographer, and I created this channel with the intention of looking at the work of incredibly successful cinematographers and hoping that I can reverse engineer them and figure out what they're doing and steal those tricks so I can be a better cinematographer myself, and hopefully you guys can learn something along the way. So I'm currently prepping to shoot a horror feature film this summer, and I've been looking at a bunch of other comps and a bunch of other films to see how we can start to build cinematic linguistics for it. One of the films that I just watched was Longlegs, which is an incredible film. I love the cinematography of it. I think the color palette of it and the use of camera and lighting in practicals in particular is really interesting in that film. But there's one sequence that I want to talk about today, and it's basically the idea of how do you make a character look natural if they are backlit by a window and you still have to get level on their face. Okay, so before we get to Longlegs, I want to hop into another film that this takes place in. This is a really, really common example of this type of setup. This is the first frame of the day. And this is an image from the movie Bottoms, which was a film that came out like 2 years ago, I think. It is a indie comedy shot on anamorphic. It looks really beautiful. I think the cinematographer did a great job. So first thing that I want to point out is let's just go through the scene really quickly. This is like sort of the opening frame of this. This is the principal chastising our two lead characters. This is the following coverage. Okay, he stands up. She stands up to meet his energy. And then this is the image that I'm sort of talking about. I'm curious about how you do images like these, right? Okay, so let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that I notice where the light is coming from. So obviously, the way that this is set up, they are choosing to close these blinds, which I think is an interesting choice, right? So you're closing half of the blinds in the window, and that's probably so you don't have to worry about what's going on outside, maybe, so you don't have to see it. Maybe it doesn't look particularly cinematic. Maybe they have to have grip and electric trucks there. I don't know. But they chose to not let us see it. They got some sort of big source, some sort of HMI probably, an M40, an M90, maybe an M18, who knows. And that's edging our guy right here, and that's causing this wet down stuff, and it's probably creating an ambient level of bounce back up in here. And then I think probably just the ambient sunlight's creating this, which is bringing in a lot of level here. But that sort of seems like what's going on in the scene. This is the return coverage, or the opposite coverage, the reverse shot, if you will. The hard light that they have is still playing through the windows that we saw established in the opening shot of this, which makes perfect sense. They have soft light on their faces, which is really nice. This, if you are a fan of the Wandering DP or Patrick O'Sullivan, which is his real name, this is what he would describe as the soft hob technique, the soft on face, hard on body, right? So that's something to take into consideration. It does seem like they have some sort of large soft source that is keying them from high up, from behind the window. Either they're softening up the HMI, or they're bringing in light mats and they're putting it above them or something, because it's just soft light or on their faces, right? And there's not, it's pretty, there, she is very flat lit. She's also pretty flat lit, but it looks like maybe she's got a little bit more level on this side of her face. So maybe they've got something in coming this way to soften it up. And they also have like a light mat over here or something that's keying her as well, just to bring a little bit level on her. Obviously, we're two characters with different skin tones. They might be boosting a little bit more level from that side. That would be a hypothesis. I don't know that that's the case. This is the frame that I really want to talk about. Still incredibly hot light. They haven't changed anything. This is actually probably the same shot that we saw before. He's just walking closer. This is why I think they have a light mat just outside of frame here, boomed up high, tilted down, because of this shape on this gentleman's face. That's why I think this is happening. We're going to get in. I'm going to hop into Cine Tracer really quickly here. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, because if you didn't have that light mat, you wouldn't be able to get exposure on his face. He would be silhouetted, because you have to expose the outside here so that you can see all this dapplage in this trees and stuff like that. Sure, it's blown out here because we got a big hot light. We know that. It's insinuating that the sun is back there, I would assume, or maybe they just didn't care. Looks like there are some top lights here, which is probably creating ambient level, but this is such a strong shape to his his face that creates depth and the illusion of depth on his face, that it has to be purposeful. This is clearly a movie light, and I want to talk about what that could look like. So I'm going to hop into cinetracer, and we're in cinetracer. Okay, so we have a hard light hitting him. We've got the light. It's almost exactly where it is. That's great. And this is the level that we have in this room, right? Like, I can create more level as far as ambient is concerned with these overhead lights, which I think is probably a good idea. Let me give it just a quick 20% here on both of these overhead lights. I don't want it to be too much because it will overpower what's going on. See, so you kind of have a top light here, right? So let's see if we can, I'm going to create a light mat, which is basically, we'll do a 2 foot by 4 foot light mat here, and that'll be the thing. Okay, now we're talking business here. Does it look exactly the same? No. In fact, I think the top light is too much. Let's take the top light down. Now that we have this key light in here, let's totally 86 the top lights again. Even though I know that they're playing some in this scene, I know that they're actually playing. But let's just see what happens. Okay, I mean, our ambient levels are much darker than theirs because because of the way of things. Because I built it with dark walls, and I guess now that I'm looking at it, it seems like they have white walls, which I didn't realize. I should have been paying more attention. Whoops, my bad. Okay, so you tell me. Is this helpful at all? Do you think that this is representative of this image right here? So the question for me is, if you have a character who is placed by a window in their blocking and you're putting a large fixture behind them, which is going to edge them, and how do you keep them keyed? That's basically the question, right? And you let me know, did this work? What we did in cinetracer, does that feel representative of what we see here in the bottoms video? Okay, now we're talking about how I got here. I want to talk about long legs. So bottoms that we just spoke about was like an indie comedy version of this. Now this is a horror, thriller, drama version of what I'm talking about. And I think it's incredible. But I want to point out one thing in particular. And I think this is the lesson to take as a cinematographer about how this can help tell story and how you accomplish making it look and feel like our character is exposed, even when there is not a light there. Now, let's take a look. This is the establishing shot of the scene that I'm talking about in Long Legs. Long Legs is a horror film, okay? That means this window right here is the only light that is taking place in this scene, and it is casting a very, very soft ambient level of light coming through this window. Ba, ba, ba. Glorious. This is our lead character. This is her supervisor, okay? The next coverage is the supervisor landing. So I just want to notice how soft this light is and what direction it is coming from, okay? So we're just establishing. The window that we saw in the establishing shot is here. It is casting quite a level of light here and quite a level of fall off over here. And he is keyed on this side and nothing is happening over here. Cool? We're all on the same page. Okay, now let's look at the investigator that we are talking to as our heroine, or as our lead character, comes into the scene. It is completely pitch black on this side of her face. She is keyed only from the window, which is right here. So the level of light is coming from here. This has been the same for every single coverage that we have seen so far, right? In fact, man, I love this level of contrast and how gorgeous this is. Very brightly lit, keyed on this side, dark here, dark here. Wow, really lovely. And look, eye catch on the second eye, and the eye closest to us, far away from the key. Really nice. So they must have some sort of fixture over there to play as an eye light. I love this, okay? Now, let's take a look at our final shot. If you were exposing this and you didn't have a specialty light to expose our lead character's face, she would be dark right here. There is no light here. Look at the previous image. There is no light on this side of frame. Why is there light hitting our lead character the lead character is literally standing right here in this scene, right? There's no light here. She's dark on this side of the face. And then we cut to, wow, she now has light on her face. So what are we to assume? That this light is wrapping around her face from back there? I think that's what we're supposed to assume. I think that's the idea. The reason why I wanted to point this out is because if we're not taking the time as cinematographers to look at seeing how other people do it, we're going to run into trouble and we're not going to have answers. We're going to have to find the solutions on the day. And the solution is you're going to have to fake a fixture to wrap around her face to get this level of exposure. It's just what's going to have to happen. Okay? You know, you have a bright source coming from the back, and that is keying a lot of everybody else in the scene. That's the only motivational light in this entire scene. Where does this light come from? Okay, we're doing a second screen recording. We're officially in CineTracer. As you can see, I'm going to bring up the skylight so you can see a little bit about what's going on. I have built the set from Lawn Legs in CineTracer. These are our characters. I tried my best, okay? So I'm bringing it down. There's no overhead lights in this scene whatsoever, right? So we're getting... Now, let me move in here. Let me select this. So let me just talk really quickly. This is the character. This is the character that we were seeing before that I was like, wow, I really love the way that looks. We're shooting into the corner. That's essentially how it's lit. Like, you know, they could have a light further to the left, camera left, to be able to create the eye light. Now, let's find the boss. That is this gentleman, which is very, very dark. Let me reframe this a little bit. This gentleman should move into the light a little bit. And actually, let me go around the back here. This is where I have this light. And let me just tilt it down a little because it's a little bit more light. And let's lower the height. It might get the light to spread a little bit more. Yeah, it's not quite right, but it's a little bit more. Like that. Okay, so I'm now in here. Let's run this. Okay, so this is kind of what we were seeing on on the other gentleman as well, right? Half side keyed. Love that. Man, again, the movement of on CineTracer is not great, but you can see what it is that we're doing here, right? Like, this is obviously, I have in CineTracer, the building of the window is different than the window in the film. The tools that I have in CineTracer are a little bit different, so please, again, be kind. I'm not able to replicate it like inch by inch, so we're just approximating. So I know that the light level on my wall is different than the light level in the film, but I'm just trying to show how his key light could be working, right? And that we're just establishing that on the two other characters besides our lead FBI agent, they are keyed completely from the window. And then when you come around to look at her, the way that it works without having another light, this is what she looks like. And her hair looks absolutely crazy in this app. That is good to know. This looks like insanity. Okay, so I'm changing exposure a little bit so that we can sort of see what's going on. This is what she would look like if you did not justify some sort of wraparound light. That's why you can't. That's why you have to fake it. And so that is what's going on here. Let's see how this goes. Actually, I don't think that's going to work. I think I'm going to need to move this fixture a little bit. And now let's see what this looks like. So the color is not great. That's my first instinct, is the color is not great. But let's see. Right? It's the positioning of the fixture is not quite correct. That would be my first instinct here, is that it needs to go a little bit further this direction because she was very, very side lit. And let's see how that plays. So we go into the camera, and that feels a little bit more representative of what's going on, right? Of the original image. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think we're pretty close here, right? I mean, look, again, guys, I know that it's not perfect because CineTracer is not perfect. It's not a perfect tool, but it's one that I'm enjoying. It's one that I'm learning about, and it's one that I feel is like helpful to actually visualize where lights are at, right? So just keep in mind, the thing that I'm talking about today, the reason that I made this video is that I'm trying to collect tiny little techniques that help me establish how other great cinematographers have navigated small difficulties in their job every day. And my feeling is like, if I can do 100, 200, 300 of these videos, and I can collect one tiny little trick like that every week, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, I could be a better cinematographer than I am now, right? And so I think this is one of those tiny little techniques, one of those little tricks, which is if you have a hard, strong light, or most of the level is coming from a window that your character is blocked up against. They have to be standing there for blocking reasons, and you don't want them to be silhouetted. The story is not calling for them to be silhouetted. You have to see their eyes. You have to see their emotion. You have to see them feel whatever information they're taking on and participating in. You're going to need to justify some sort of light wrapping around to give enough level to balance the exposure between their face and the background. That's just it. That's just how exposure works. Let me know how you guys feel about this. I know it's still a little clunky and I'm trying to figure it out, but I think there is immense value into the idea of trying to build these worlds in Cine Tracer so we can talk a little bit more at length about them. There might be an argument that these should be like live videos that actually take me like 90 minutes to do or something like that, because doing them in 20 minutes is probably not going to be enough. So we'll see. I'm going to continue to integrate this. I'm going to keep trying stuff. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've ever ran into this situation yourself and how you dealt with it. Okay, guys, I think that's all the time that we have for this week. Thanks so much for stopping by. Please like, subscribe. Please leave me some messages in the comment if there's any other techniques that you've been interested in. How did this person do that? How did this person do that? That's what I want to get into. So, as always, thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate you. Speak soon. Cheers. Bye.